the National Steering Committee has been thinking about the way that we frame the topics that we focus on in terms of solutions. That is a reflection of our interest and the sort of Mpact history of looking at the real world applications of the ideas that we're discussing, not theoretical, but how things have been applied in practice. So that might be a little messy. It might mean that things didn't go entirely according to plan, but those are the things that have value to other practitioners. And this is really entirely about peer learning. So when we think about the types of solutions that we are interested in hearing from you all about, they fall into kind of 5 baskets of solutions. I'm going to run through those with you. First is, how are you solving for funding gaps? And that funding gaps may fall across a number of different ways of thinking about it. It might be transit operations funding gaps. It might be transit-oriented development funding gaps. It might be about how you get large capital projects off the ground. And then within those, different ways of thinking about funding, it includes a number of different kinds of tools. And we want to hear about those different tools and the different, so like policy tools, partnerships, all those things that help to close gaps in real world projects. The next basket of things is, how are you solving for quality of life issues? And traditionally, quality of life set of things has included resiliency, disaster preparedness, displacement, quality of life considerations in procurement practices, in design, how transit agencies interact with people who are unhoused, or the overall, thinking about the overall rider experience and safety in the context of a diverse ridership. But this year it also includes some items that we previously thought of as strictly access and mobility, including placemaking, the street design, and first last mile connections. So we're thinking about how to think more broadly about some of those mobility and access issues. And speaking of mobility and access, the sort of core of that topic is really about transportation operations in a large way. It might have to do with transit operations, major capital projects for transit, congestion management, things like microtransit, micromobility, alternative fuels. So those topics are all kind of in this access and mobility basket. Next, 4 out of 5 we're on here, is, how are you building effective engagement, communications, and partnerships? So the people side of this work specifically. It might, community engagement, but also comms in general, government relations, campaigns, whether those are marketing campaigns or whether those are, ballot initiative type campaigns. So all of that, engaging youth, all those kinds of creative human side of the work falls into this track 4 area. And then last but not least, the track where I got my start is, how are you using transit-oriented development to build complete communities? So everything TOD related tends to fall into this category. It can include corridor planning. So, the land use planning side that complements a major transit investment, thinking about zoning reform, thinking about parking, thinking about affordable and workforce housing, all of those places where you're really thinking about the land use interaction with the transportation is track 5. And then extra fun is the PK Slam. If you haven't been to the event before, to the conference before, this is an evening event that consists of the traditional Pechakucha style presentations. It's really fun. It tends to be funny. People really put a lot of thought into it, and it really is a very engaging and fun thing to participate in. I've done it twice, and to watch. So we usually have about 10 speakers. It's not huge, but if you want to challenge yourself, or you have a topic that you think you really want to dig into specifically, you want to explore, and or you have a kind of a hot take that you want to share, this is a great way to do that. So we have talked as a National Steering Committee about, just last week actually, about what are the kind of topics that we see emerging right now that we would love to see proposals about. And those include successful fare box stories, managing construction costs, the battle for streets and curbs. So you can read the list here, but I think what we're seeing is sort of in a lot of cases, I think I would say, there are definitely financial challenges that are emerging in a lot of different ways for agencies and cities around transportation. That's something that we want to explore. There are changes to the way people are moving and where they're moving and when they're doing that, and what are the systemic responses that we're having to that. And that comes in terms of transit service, street design, a number of things. And then, of course, there's sort of the larger context and how that might be impacting how we engage with folks, whether that's the suburbanization of poverty or thinking about audience such as First Nations and young people. So take a look at this list. If something jumps out at you, you've got a great story, we'd really love to hear it.